The desert wind howled across the lonely plains of Redstone Valley as dusk settled like a heavy blanket. Coyotes cried in the distance, and the sky slowly melted into shades of crimson and amber. It was at this hour, when day struggled to stay and night pushed to take over, that Jackson Reed, better known as the Hollow Creek Outlaw, rode into town with a bleeding shoulder and a heart even more wounded. He wasn't here looking for trouble. He was looking for a place to hide and heal. The townsfolk of Redstone Valley whispered legends about him. A gunslinger with the fastest draw. A man who never stayed in one place. A man whose eyes looked like they'd seen too much pain for one lifetime. But legends never mentioned that Jackson hadn't slept peacefully in over 10 years. Not since the day his family was killed in a ranch raid by the infamous Blackthorn Gang. He had been hunting them ever since. Tonight, however, the hunter was the one being hunted. Bleeding, breathless, and exhausted, Jackson's vision blurred as he stumbled off his horse near an old wooden building with a squeaky signboard. Lydia's Hearth and Home, fresh meals daily. A cookhouse. He pushed through the doors, nearly collapsing. Inside, the soft glow of lantern light flickered on the walls. The aroma of warm bread, beef stew, and wild herbs filled the air. Behind the counter stood a woman wiping flour off her apron. Her name was Lydia Monroe. She was no ordinary cook of the West. She was a quiet miracle wearing a simple dress and a soft smile. And she was about to save the most dangerous outlaw in the valley. "Sir, you're hurt," Lydia gasped as Jackson staggered and grabbed the counter for support. "I'll manage," he muttered, trying to stay upright. One look at him and Lydia could tell this was no regular traveler. His coat was torn, his shirt soaked in blood, and his revolver hung loose at his hip. But his eyes were full of pain and loneliness. "No, you won't," she said firmly. "You sit down before you fall down." Jackson tried to protest, but the world spun, and he collapsed into a chair. Lydia rushed toward him, sliding a pot aside and grabbing a cloth from the sink. She gently touched his forehead. "You're burning up. Who did this to you?" He tried to answer, but a wave of pain cut him off. "Just a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding wouldn't put a bullet through your shoulder," Lydia replied. Her fearlessness surprised him. Most people shook in their boots when they saw him. But she didn't. He managed a weak smirk. "I don't even know your name." "Lydia. And you're staying alive tonight because I said so." He chuckled, then winced. His shoulder throbbed. Lydia rolled her sleeves up. "Don't move. This may hurt." When she pressed the soaked cloth against his wound, he clenched his teeth. She cleaned, stitched, and wrapped it with careful hands. "You've done this before," he breathed. "I help everyone who walks through that door, even outlaws." He froze. "You know who I am?" She nodded. "The badge hunters were asking about you. Said they shot you but you got away. You're not scared." Lydia looked into his eyes. "I see hurt in you, not evil." For the first time in years, someone looked at Jackson like he was more than a gun. Over the next days, Lydia kept him hidden in the cookhouse. She fed him warm soup, cleaned his bandages, and forced him to rest even when he swore he was fine. Jackson learned she lived alone, running her place after her parents passed. "You work too hard," he said one evening. "And you talk too much for a man who was shot," she teased. It was the first time he laughed in years. Jackson began helping her in small ways, fixing the door hinge, chopping firewood, and lifting heavy sacks of flour. Lydia scolded him every time, but secretly she loved having someone around. The quiet moments they shared, between simmering pots, crackling firewood, and whispered conversations, began weaving threads between their hearts. One night, a storm hit Redstone. Thunder shook the windows. Jackson woke from a nightmare, sweat dripping down his forehead. Lydia walked in with a lantern. "Another bad dream?" He nodded. Without a word, she sat beside him, letting him lean his head on her shoulder. Her presence soothed the storm inside him. "You don't have to fight everything alone," she said softly. "No one ever stayed long enough to help me." "Well," she whispered, "I'm here now." Just when Jackson began to think he might deserve peace, trouble arrived. The Blackthorn Gang. 6 riders thundered into town, guns at their hips and cruelty in their eyes. Their leader, Barrett Thorne, walked into Lydia's cookhouse. A chill shot through her. "You seen a tall outlaw with a scar and a shot-up shoulder?" Barrett asked with a wicked grin. Lydia forced calmness. "No, sir. Only hungry folks around here." Barrett smirked. "Shame. He's worth $3,000. When he leaned closer, Lydia felt her heart race, but she didn't break. Barrett left, but Lydia knew he'd return. She hurried to the shed behind the cookhouse, where Jackson had been hiding. "They're here," she whispered. Jackson straightened. "I can't stay here anymore. I put you in danger." "You're leaving." Her voice trembled. "I have to." She swallowed hard. "Then take this." She handed him a small leather pouch of herbs, medicine she had made herself. "It'll keep the fever down," she said. Jackson gently brushed her cheek with his fingers. "You saved my life, Lydia. And you saved mine," she whispered. Before she could stop herself, she leaned forward and kissed him. A soft, desperate, life-changing kiss. Jackson felt a warmth spread through him that no fire or whiskey had ever given him. "I'll come back for you," he whispered. "I swear it." And with that, he disappeared into the storm. 2 days passed. Jackson rode across canyons and cliffs, but Barrett's men cornered him near the riverbed. He fought bravely, but he was outnumbered. A bullet grazed his ribs, another cut his leg, and soon he fell to his knees. Barrett raised his gun. "This is for my brother, outlaw." Jackson closed his eyes, thinking of Lydia's kiss, her warmth, her voice telling him he deserved more than pain. Her kiss had given him something he hadn't felt in 10 years. A reason to live. Suddenly, a furious voice echoed across the rocks. "Drop the gun." Jackson opened his eyes. Lydia. She stood behind Barrett, holding a shotgun with shaking hands, but brave eyes. "You shoot him. I shoot you," she said. Barrett laughed, but before he could turn, Jackson grabbed his knife and threw it. Barrett fell. Gunfire exploded around them, but Lydia reloaded and fired without blinking. Jackson caught her arm and pulled her behind a boulder. "You shouldn't be here," he shouted. "You promised you'd come back for me." "I was trying to." She glared. "Well, you were too slow." They fought side by side, one protecting the other until the last bandit lay defeated. Jackson collapsed, wounded again. Lydia dropped beside him. No, stay with me." "I'm fine," he whispered weakly. Tears ran down her cheeks. "Don't you die on me, not after everything." Jackson touched her lips with trembling fingers. "Your kiss saved me once, might save me again." Lydia leaned forward, pressing her lips to his. A kiss full of fear, love, and hope. And he stayed alive. Jackson survived. Lydia treated his wounds again, this time with both anger and love. "You scare me half to death," she muttered as she tied fresh bandages. He held her hand. "I'm done running. And the Blackthorn Gang? Gone. You helped end them." Lydia exhaled with relief. Weeks passed. The cookhouse felt warmer with Jackson in it. He fixed things, protected Lydia from troublemakers, and even learned to help in the kitchen. He burned biscuits. Twice. Lydia laughed until she cried. One evening, under a sky full of stars, Jackson stood behind her as she stirred soup. "You know," he said softly, "a man could get used to this." "To soup?" she teased. "To you." She blushed. He gently lifted her chin. "Lydia, I came into town to hide from death. But I found a reason to live." Her heart pounded. "I love you," he said. Tears filled her eyes. "And I love you, outlaw." He kissed her, long, deep, and full of every emotion he'd ever buried. Redstone Valley changed after that. People no longer whispered when Jackson passed. They nodded in respect. He became the quiet guardian of the town, working alongside Lydia. Her cookhouse became the heart of the community. And Jackson became the heart of her life. Every morning, he kissed her before the sun rose. Every night, he held her until the stars faded. And whenever someone asked how a feared outlaw found peace, Jackson simply smiled and said, "She kissed me back to life. She kissed me back to life."